come in, sir?
आइए.
Good afternoon, sir.
Come on,
Good afternoon, sir.
Sit down. Sit down.
मास्क उतार लीजिए.
Thank you, sir.
So you're a computer science engineer,
Yes, sir.
and which were your optional subjects for the exam?
Sir, we had to choose one optional. I chose geography as my optional.
Ah, very good. So geography. And in geography, what is your main interest?
Sir, geography entirely as a subject is very interesting, and if I had to choose one particular area, sir, it would be around environment, ecology, wildlife, nature.
Wildlife.
Yes, sir.
What do you think is the present situation of tigers in India?
Sir, India has the world's largest 70% of the tigers are found in India.
The numbers are very few, isn't it?
Yeah, right, sir.
So what is the problem?
Sir, the problem started from the British times when there was an indiscriminate hunting of tigers that happened across the subcontinent, not just India, and we lost them. But sir, the positive part was that we soon realized that tigers, being the apex predators, are very important for the entire ecosystem, and we launched Project Tiger in 1973 after that. So we have had national parks, and today, sir, we have reached to a level where we have doubled the number of the tigers in the country. Sir, we have various targets like T-Cross 2, and sir, Madhya Pradesh holds the distinction of having the largest number of tigers.
But you see, this word Project Tiger, does it concern itself only with tigers?
Sir, it is primarily the tigers, but the Project Tiger is encompassing in the sense that it also deals with the people who are in the areas around the core areas of the tigers, that is the people living around it. So in Project Tiger, we have three main areas: the core area, the buffer zone, and the transition zone.
Yeah, but basically, I mean, I'm just, see, it was named tiger because the only way to preserve tiger is if you preserve everything down below it.
Yes, sir.
You know, so it was a very comprehensive thing for wildlife as such.
Yes, sir.
And only the tiger was at the top in India because it's everything that depends upon that, right? Okay,
Yes, sir, it is connected.
Right, Prof?
Okay.
Anjali Shrotriya.
Yes, sir.
पहले तो Shrotriya, what it means?
Sir, in the Rig Vedic times, there were two kinds of people. One were the one who used to say the Vedas, recite them. They were called Vachaks. And there was second category of people who used to listen to these Vedas, and they used to transmit it to the future generations. They were the Shrotas.
Okay.
And later on they came to be known as Shrotriyas.
Shrotriyas. Recently, one after another IPCC reports have been coming, and one came recently.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what are some of the interesting conclusions or projections that the recent report had?
Right, sir. Sir, the recent IPCC report which was released, it was the second of the 6th assessment reports. And the main aim or the main focus point of this report was on adaptation, which was to make the humans aware that we have done damage, and now it is time that we adapt to the damages that have been done. They were primarily talking about the various green technologies and the scaling up of renewable energy that we need to do. And so the report has highlighted that if we do not
Does the report say something about irreversibility?
Sir, there was a point where they mentioned that we have done irreversible damages, and
Okay. Adaptation and mitigation, there are two strategies.
yes, sir.
Which you think brings certain strength to India's discourse on environmental? dealing with environmental challenges?
Sir, adaptation is something when it has happened and
You mentioned yourself
Yes, sir.
adaptation. So
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying adaptation and mitigation are two globally in the discourse are two strategies.
Yes, sir. Sir, I think
Both are relevant, but which one particularly gives credence to India talking about it?
So particularly to India.
India
Sir,
is a major player in the
yes, sir.
discourse.
Sir, I would say we have to focus on mitigation. In my opinion, sir, if we are able to not come to that point where we need to adapt ourselves to such catastrophic events and we mitigate them somehow, that would be the great thing if we can achieve that.
Do you think there's a radical argument sometime made that human species are the most powerful virus on the planet?
Sir, I would say that this is in both the aspects. Like if I take a positive connotation of this, that they are the most powerful, then they certainly are in terms of their intelligence, in terms of the innovation and the developments that humans have done. But sir, to a negative connotation also, because they have somewhere exploited and have pushed the limits of the environment to a point that we have been talking about the hothouse earth kind of phenomena. So they indeed are powerful, but sir, with great power also comes responsibility, and I think we also need to be more
Okay, my last
responsible.
question. Can you help us understand difference between CBDR and INDCs? Still
Yes, sir.
in climate change discourse.
Yes, sir.
CBDR principle and INDCs principle, what they mean, why we have moved from one to another?
Sir, CBDR is the common but differentiated responsibility, wherein it is a notion that historically it was the developed world which is responsible for the climate change. So even the developing world shares some responsibility to mitigate, but these are differentiated. For example, developed world is more accountable. So there are common responsibilities but differentiated in that sense. And sir, INDCs was a concept negotiated in the Paris Climate Agreement, which is intended nationally determined contributions of every country.
Excellent. Does this mean we have given up the earlier principle of CBDR now?
No, sir, we still abide by that principle.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anjali, could you just, as a first question, conceptually distinguish between adaptation on the one hand and mitigation on the other?
Yes, sir. Sir, from what my understanding is regarding the two, sir, adaptation is when we've already done the damage and now there's no choice, but we need to adapt to whatever situations are there and control the further damage. And so mitigation is not allowing the thing to happen in the first place by taking the requisite measures beforehand.
Okay, I'm going to change the subject altogether and take it to the realm of the economy.
You're right, sir.
And I'm going to ask you a straightforward question. Pre-COVID, what were the biggest challenges the Indian economy was facing?
Sir, the first one was there was already a slowdown in the economy pre-COVID, which we were witnessing. So secondly, it was the manufacturing sector of the country, which is still stagnant at 16% for the past 30 years, even
16% of what, beta?
So 16% of our GDP. So that was one area that our economy was struggling, sir. And sir, the third one I would say was the job losses and the unemployment. We were having growth, but it was a jobless growth in the Indian economy.
I'm done.
It seems that you have been interested in lots of academic activities during your college days.
Yes, sir.
I'll just give you two different quotations. I would
Yes,
like first quotation, and I would like you to give us not a synopsis, 1 or 2 minutes of what you would have written or spoken about it. Human history is a history of human migrations.
Sir, this quotation basically means that whenever humans migrate, since time immemorial, they don't just migrate physically, but with their cultures, with their dominant thinking, with their living traditions. So, if there's a particular migration that is happening over a period of time, we'll find and we'll be able to identify it by the people living in that area. So, for example, we talk about Indians being migrated to other countries like the South American small nations like Girmitia countries or in Fiji, but we will still be able to identify them by their peculiar Indian characteristics which always will be alive in them.
Good. So just, what were the first human species known as and where were they found? First.
Sir, humans are believed to be originated.
No, just name. What were they known as?
Sir, the Neanderthals, if I can recall.
Achha, chalo, anyway.
Who replaced them? Who replaced Neanderthals?
Sir, the Homo erectus,
You are nearer that.
Homo sapiens.
Yeah. Very good. Achha, now one quotation and I'll end there. Science can take you to truth, but not to happiness. Just 1 or 2 minutes. How would you speak or write on it? Or what would you speak or write on it?
Sir, happiness is something which is very personal to a person. It's in tandem of what one thinks, what one speaks, and what one does. When all three of them are in harmony, that is when happiness comes to a person. And sir, science in that sense is objective. It might lead us to a truth, but that truth will give us the happiness, will give us the peace. It might not be always possible.
Yes. Good, very good. Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful.
Tell me, Anjali, your optional was geography.
Yes, sir.
You have heard about the North Pole.
Yes, sir.
Who does it belong to? Belongs to which country? Okay, tell me. North Pole is in the Arctic Circle,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
So
Sir-
how many countries own portions of the Arctic Circle?
Right. Sir, there are 8 countries which have formed the Arctic Council, namely, and sir, they don't own per se, but yes, they have huge stakes in the Arctic region. This includes USA, Russia, sir, Denmark, United Kingdoms, then sir, Canada.
Okay. Right. Tell me, recently,
Yes, sir.
in the past few days, the Russians and the Japanese are having lot of debate on the ownership of certain islands.
Right, sir.
Are you aware of?
Sir, it is the Kuril Islands that are a point of contention between Russia and Japan.
Since when?
Sir, it's been a long time, like when sir, since a long time, I am not sure.
See,
Yes,
after the Second World War,
yes, sir.
Russians had taken 4 or 5 big chunks of islands for which the Japanese are fighting with them. Okay, tell me. Japan,
Right, sir.
can you name the 4 big land masses which comprise Japan?
Sir, one is the Honshu.
Honshu
Sir.
has the Tokyo,
Yes, sir.
it has the capital of Japan, so that is Honshu. Okay.
Sir, Hokkaido.
Huh?
Hokkaido,
Hokkaido is the northernmost.
northernmost part. Yes, sir.
Fine.
Sir, Kyushu. And sir, Rikuku, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Huh? Which one?
Sir, Rikuku and Kyushu. Sir, I'm not sure about the pronunciation.
Okay. On which of these islands
Yes, sir.
were Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which were bombed in the Second World War?
Just look at the map. Where are these two cities located? And then we'll give you an idea.
How far from Tokyo?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm
Tokyo
not
के
aware.
silent pair.
वो तो
Sir,
बताया
on the Honshu
Honshu.
again.
और ठीक राइट
Thank you.